Hello everybody, Matt Bull here, MD of Action Coach in Loughborough, here with another episode of Business Spotlight. And I'm delighted today to be joined by Anthony from Hookshot. How are you today, Anthony?
I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
Excellent, always good, always good, always good. Right, let's get cracking. First question I always ask everybody is, can you just give us a quick overview of who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm Anthony from Hookshot. I'm the founder and CEO. Hookshot is a business that basically publishes websites about video games. So we have kind of four main websites: Nintendo Life, Push Square, that's about PlayStation; Pure Xbox, that's about Xbox; Time Extension, that's our latest site that's about retro games. And each of our kind of three main platform sites are the biggest in the world of their kind. So we do kind of news, reviews, features, interviews, anything kind of related to gaming. And it's basically the online equivalent of the magazines we all used to read when we were kids. We'd go to the corner shop every month, get a magazine, but it's now all online, 24 hours a day. There's always some gaming news, and that's kind of what we do.
Excellent, excellent. How long have you been running business for?
So I'll try and keep the answer as short as I can. Nintendo Life was my first kind of site that launched in 2005, but that was actually just a passion project of mine. My background is in website development. I kind of grew up at the time where the internet was just kind of really maturing. So at 19, I got a job here in Loughborough with a local web developer. And we were doing commercial projects, which were all great. But, whenever you work for a client, you have to do what they want, which is fine. But I wanted a project of my own that, I could just experiment how to build websites, do my own thing. My passion was always gaming as a kid. So it made sense to me to make a website about my favorite topic, which was Nintendo. That just kind of sat in the background. I was just doing it for fun. It got a little bit of traffic, got some free games to review, and that was cool. And it just kind of slowly grew and grew. I met another owner of another kind of rival Nintendo website who happened to be living in the same village as me, which is a pure coincidence.
Wow.
Their site was more popular, but the technology was not very good. My technology was very good, but the website wasn't very popular. Made sense for us to join forces, and that kind of grew for a few years. We earned a little bit of extra money by doing it, but we all still had full-time jobs. And then basically it just kind of kept growing and growing. We formed a company in 2010 because it started to earn enough that it warranted its own entity. But again, no one was full-time. We just did it for fun, and we didn't even ever dream that it would be our full-time job. And then kind of just kept growing. 2015, 2016, we started taking on a few full-time people. One of my co-directors went full-time, I think, around 2014. And then I didn't actually go full-time on it until about 2018. And when the Nintendo Switch came out 2017, so 5 years or so ago, that's where the business really started to grow from, a handful of employees to now where we're at 24. So that's kind of the story. So it's been a long road, but it was never the intention to turn this into a business. And ironically, it's now much bigger than the web design business that I used to be involved in.
And here you are today with 24 members of staff, and there's some amazing stats on the website here about was it 1.8 million social media followers? I'm sure it's probably more than that now.
Yes, yeah. So we do kind of best part of 20 million users a month across our websites. 2020 was our best year, and I think we served something like 360 million page views. I like to work out these numbers, and I think it worked out at like someone was reading a page, like 10 people reading a page per second for the entire year or something like that, some cool, crazy stat. Yeah. So yeah, we've got quite a big reach, so excellent. That's good.
Excellent. So a question I always ask everybody who comes on the Spotlight series is that success means different things to different people. But when you think about success, who's the person that you kind of default to where you think, yeah, that's what success looks like? Who's that person for you?
That's a difficult question. The weird thing about what we're doing is what we did when we first started is the same as what we do now. Nothing has really changed. We go online and see what people are talking about. What's the interesting game right now? We write some content about it, sat at our computers in our office, and then that's the same as it was 10 years ago as it is now. So nothing's changed on that front. It's just the sheer amount of people reading that content that has grown. So we almost we don't have any kind of visual success apart from the stats. I think we always looked up to some of the early video game websites. So one in particular in the UK, Eurogamer, was one of the biggest independent UK websites. So much so that we approached them to handle our kind of advertising. And we're still partnered with them now. They've kind of evolved into a bigger company. But we always saw them as a kind of a leading light of independent video game websites, not owned by a big corporation, which a lot of them are. And then, ironically, we've gone full circle. The owner of Eurogamer, the guy that founded it, kind of sold his interest in that business a few years back, and he's now chairman for us. And just because we always got on, we always saw eye to eye. So just kind of emulating some of where he's been, I think, is kind of seen as success for us.
Excellent. No better definition of success than defining your own version of success. So that's great. It's great to hear. Over the course of, I think you said 2005, so that's, been in business a decent amount of time. What's the biggest lesson you've learned as a business owner in that time?
So as I said, it never started as a business. I think a lot of people set out, especially these days, social media, I think, has taught people that success can be had kind of very quickly. Whereas our success has happened over a couple of decades, and it wasn't intentional. So I think our success, I like to think, is because it's quite pure as to why we set out building the website, building the content. We didn't do it purely from we want to be successful at this. We just did it because we love what we're doing. So I think you can't expect success overnight. You have to work at it, and things take time. And don't be kind of disheartened by things not happening immediately. I think the biggest thing I've learned in the last, say, 5 years, as I said, we've grown a lot in the last 5 or 6 years, is to look after your team. We've always done things very cautiously because of our team. We try to protect them, we try to keep them happy, and we really try hard at that side of it. And we'd like to think we've got a very happy team. We don't have many people leave. So I think that's kind of working. And because the other thing is, I think a lot of people go into business for various reasons, but not many do it because they want to manage people. And the bigger you get, you have to manage people. And it's quite hard. It's something, I went into the business, went into this because I'm a programmer. I like building websites and getting websites to scale and do well. There's nothing in there that's about managing people. And everyone has their problems outside of work. They've got their own lives. So you really have to work hard at balancing that, listening to people, treating people with respect, and just understanding where they're coming from. And balancing that team. In the past, whenever we hired someone, we could do it purely on talents, whereas now we have to factor in how will they fit into the rest of the team, what dynamic will change, will it cause any rifts, or we have to think about those things a lot more than we used to. So I think looking after your team is very important. I've got a couple of other things. Don't wait to do things, just do it. Don't wait. We're extremely lucky that we're a small business. If we come up with an idea, if I can program in it, it can be live on the website within hours. There's no layers of management. We don't have to go to a consultant, get their approval, get a design expert to look at it. We just do it. And that's kind of the beauty of the internet as well, is that you don't have to wait to do things. But that also means don't take unnecessary risks. Always consider things properly. Just because you can do it quickly, make sure you still look at those risks. And then finally, outsource anything that you're not interested in. So accountancy, HR, legal, we outsource all of that. I didn't get into business wanting to be a HR expert or an accountancy expert. I have to dabble in those things, but I think too many business owners feel the need to learn all of those disciplines and try to do everything, when actually your time should be spent back in the core thing of what your business does, not all those kind of necessary, but not necessarily your specialist skill.
Awesome. How do you see the business growing in the next 5 years or so?
So we've got a fairly clear direction now for our business. Nintendo Life's our biggest team because it's our biggest website. That team is probably 8 or 9 people, whereas the other teams are like 5 or 6 and then 2 or 3. So we've got a kind of, I guess, conveyor belt of teams that we feel we will grow, and the aim is to get all of those 4 teams up to the same size. But that is dependent on the websites growing to the right size as well. So we will kind of flesh out those teams as and when the kind of business allows that. So we're fairly clear on that. Gaming, has never been more popular, so that's just going to continue. It is shifting at the moment. There's a landscape of change between Sony's kind of traditional route of here, buy a £60 game, and Xbox are going down the road of, oh, please subscribe to a monthly service, a bit more like Netflix. Nintendo kind of sitting in the middle. They've got a few different things. So it's shifting, and that's scary in one sense, that traditionally advertisers will be advertising a product that you buy, and then you buy the next one, whereas with that service you don't have that cycle. Yeah. But at the same time, readers, they've never had so much choice. There are arguably too many games being produced right now, so they need help to navigate which is worth their time. So it used to be what's worth my money, and now it's what's worth my time. Yeah. So we still feel that there's a very important role for us as a business to try and navigate that for people, and just enable conversation around games. Cool.
And what obstacles do you see? Even maybe this year. It's a lot happening at the moment. Macro and across the world. What challenges do you see for your business over the course of the next year or so?
So there's an instant kind of drop off in advertising revenue, just because kind of global kind of CPMs, which is the costing. Whenever people view ads on a website, there's quite a lot going on behind the scenes around. Sometimes there's campaigns that have been directly sold for, they've negotiated a deal with a publisher. If not, it then falls into like this exchange bidding system where computers are figuring out how much is this page view worth, and then there's advertisers that are bidding against that, and that's all in like real time. Those kind of general CPMs have dropped by upwards of 20% over the last few months versus this time last year. So that's kind of a big change, but that is only one revenue stream. Our other revenue streams are pretty solid. So there will be a kind of cost of living related drop in advertising rates, but that's going to be the same for everyone. That's not specific to us. That's like a global thing. Gaming in general is seen as pretty much recession proof. People are going to play games. COVID kind of showed that, is that if people can't spend money in the pub or going on nights out, they're going to buy games, because one game might give them 100 hours of entertainment. So there's that side of it, that I feel like gaming will always be a good kind of value for money thing. So that's kind of the short term, but we kind of expect that to balance out over the next few years. the biggest kind of concern at the moment is that's very topical is AI. So there's lots of, I think the media in general needs to be quite cautious of AI. We will start seeing interviews like this that have been generated purely based on AI text and AI presenters, and consumers won't technically be able to see the difference. So that's very dangerous, I think. And we don't know. We're already in a information age where we're starting to figure out maybe we can't trust everything we see online. So AI is going to cause problems. How we deal with it, I think, is a bigger question than something for us. We've committed to kind of saying all of our content will be written by humans. We're not going to use AI to write any content for our websites. And we think our readers will respect that. But at the same time, there will be competitors that will just be using AI to generate content. They'll use the internet and say, right, make me a news story about this topic, and AI will just do that for them, which we feel is going to be very problematic, shall we say. But that's way bigger than just us. That's a media thing in general.
Excellent. Okay. Been in business now, 2005, I'll do the maths in my head. What's that, 18, 19 years or so?
Can just about have a drink now.
Think back, what advice would you give yourself when you started? Your 18 or 19-year-old self, when you're right at that start of the journey, what advice would you give that person now?
Enjoy the ride. I think there were moments along the way that we probably didn't enjoy it as much as we could. There were opportunities that we probably didn't take because it was like, oh, it's a bit of a hassle to do that. For instance, we used to always do the trade shows in London when Earl's Court was there, and it was a blast. It was great fun. And now that that building doesn't exist, some years we perhaps thought, oh, I'm not sure I could go this year, or not too bothered. So I think always you always look back on the moments, but you never really realize at the time that that's the good old days. It's happening in front of your eyes. So I think enjoy it. Trust your instincts. It's a little bit tricky to answer in terms of the business side of it because we never envisaged it as a business. That's just kind of happened by accident, which is we're very fortunate. But I definitely say trust in what you're doing, and if the signs are good now, trust that the graph is going to continue to go in the same direction. We've been very conservative over the years. We probably could have been a little bit more adventurous, but at the same time, that conservatism has helped us. It's kept us honest and made sure we've only made decisions as and when we felt is completely the right time.
Awesome. Listen, Anthony, this is one interview we could definitely extend beyond the time that we allow for these. Absolute pleasure talking to you, and we look forward to seeing all of our viewers on the next episode of Business Spotlight. Many thanks again, Anthony.
Thanks for having me.